late, like third quarter, stuff like that, that's when Daniel Jones is supposed to step up. Like when we look at Jalen Hurts, he can do it. But Daniel Jones this season, he has shown he can win the one score games because it's one score and he feels confident in that. But mounting a comeback, he has not shown the ability to do it. And that's if you can take Saquon out of the equation from his rushing standpoint, the Giants offense is very, very bleak. I understand their wide receivers have been looking a lot better later in the season, but still they're not Pro Bowl wide receivers. They're guys who on some teams would not be on the active roster. Like I don't know if Isaiah Hodgins would be active on the Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver roster. I mean, maybe with the numbers he's put up in the past couple weeks, but like we've got Zach Pascal, Quez Watkins, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and I think guys like Greg Ward are like still sitting around down there. You
Yeah,
know,
on the
so like
practice squad.
so like if you can get Daniel Jones to have to pass the ball more than they are rushing the ball, that game is over and it's going to be the exact same score that was in what week 8 or something like that
14, I think we played them.
the first time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I think it was 14.
my bad on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely
I think that's what both teams, what their goals are coming into this game is to control the ball, control the time of possession. Because we've seen it in all three of the Eagles' losses. They've gone 3 and out multiple times in the first half. The other team gets their running game going. They tire out the defensive line, and then after a while, the defensive line just they're tired and they can't stop to run. And we see that the opponents they get 8 to 9 yards a run, and at that point, there's not much you can do on the defense side of the ball. So, yeah, I think that's definitely I think that'll be the determining factor on who wins this game is who has the ball longest and who doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, and we've seen now too with an emerging star towards the end of the season for them, which he's been making headlines all over the last 3 to 5 weeks. Is Thibodeau, their rookie edge rusher? That's what I'm a little worried about with our line, with maybe Lane Johnson not being as healthy as usual. Mulata, he's a stud, but at the same time, this guy has been causing chaos. Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams, I'm not going to say he's a star, but Dexter Lawrence is a very good D tackle. It's going to be crucial to beat Philadelphia this week. I think that they need to make it's kind of obvious they need to make Hurts very uncomfortable and exploit his aggressiveness. In the beginning of the season and the middle of the season, Hurts was very aggressive with throwing the ball, deep shots. They need to keep him out of throwing in the middle of the field, but that's where we are good. So if the Giants can keep him out in the middle of the field, then and force him to make uncomfortable throws where his shoulder isn't there. Because it's not his throwing shoulder, is it? It is.
It is.
Yeah, so if they have him throwing sideline to sideline from the middle of the field to the sideline, they have to make him uncomfortable. And this is a big game too for Nick Sirianni. This is showing you in your must-win games because right now the Giants are not supposed to beat us. It's just how it is. Now maybe Dallas and San Fran, but the Giants are not supposed to beat Philadelphia at all. But this is a game that, hey, coaching is going to play a huge role. Are we going to just stick with the RPOs like usual? I don't think so. I think we limit that to where we get under center a little bit more, run that way, because you don't want Hurts taking off 15 to 20 times this game and risking him hurt for the rest of the postseason. This is a game to where he has to be limited running, get him comfortable now throwing that ball. 243, if that was what they have him at, I can see it too. If he throws the ball at least 25, obviously 30 times, if he does, I can see him throwing for 250 to 300 just to get him back into the groove. We're gonna need him to be able to throw in these next couple weeks. It just has to happen. And being off for however many weeks he was, and then coming back for the Giants game, you played second stringers and third string players. You know, you didn't look that hot, but you were coming off of an injury. Throwing the ball, he didn't look that hot either, like Ethan said. So, I mean, he's a little rusty right now, and that's what I'm nervous about is what he did against the Giants' second and third team, and then coming in now to play their legitimate starters that, like I said, it's the playoffs. It's win or go home. And Hurts has to step up. I'm just nervous about having this 2 weeks off, even though I wanted that for him to get healthy. But there's a lot of rust that's still there because I don't think he took the rust off in that week 18 game. Or week 18.
Yeah, I think this game, it's either going to be the downfall of Jalen Hurts this season and his shoulder injury, or it's going to be, right back to MVP caliber.
MVP status.
Yeah, because the Giants' defense, they're playing really good, and like their secondary has stepped up in like recently. Like last week, they held Justin Jefferson to 47 yards. Like not many teams can do that.
No.
And yeah, T.J. Hawkinson went off, and that's one reason I think Goddard could go off too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like their linebacker core is probably their one weak spot on defense. I mean, I like their corners. So Dory Jackson, I like him.
Yeah. There's a reason he got paid.
Yeah,
Another
solid player.
Mm.
Yeah, I think definitely looking for easy throws like over the middle to Goddard and AJ. I feel like that's going to be their bread and butter this week.
I definitely agree with you especially because AJ Brown, man, they say that he runs the best slants in the NFL, and like you said about the linebackers, man, that middle space, if he's running that slant, dude, and you just throw the ball to him real quick, he can exploit that every time. Dory Jackson is a very good corner, but at the end of the day, it's who are you going to cover? Because you can't double A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You know what I mean? If you double one of them, the other one's going to go off. If you double both, you can't double both of them. And Dallas Goedert, like you said about T.J. Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert does have a very well chance to go off. I think he has a lot to prove, too, coming off that injury and stuff like that. And it's playoffs, man. I think I would argue that he's probably a top 6 tight end, maybe even higher. Or you could probably argue that he's better, honestly, maybe even 5. But and Jalen Hurts too, dude. How Ethan said it was all or nothing. This is absolutely all or nothing, dude. Because if he plays like he did in Week 18 and doesn't throw the ball well, isn't really making the best decisions, and just that hurt shoulder, man. He has had 2 weeks to rest, but it's playoffs, dude. It's all or nothing. You gotta perform at your best, and he was playing very well before he got hurt. If we can get that Jalen Hurts back for the playoffs, I think we'll be perfectly fine.
I think it also depends on how the line does, though. Like the line is not 100% healthy. They got Lane Johnson back this week, but like
that's huge.
How many snaps is he actually going to play? I mean, I'm hoping that he's upper 90%, but like if he's like injured, like it's going to limit that. And if we have his backup in there, which is not looking too sweet, I think it also depends on how the line does and how Hurts is going to play. I think that really affects it.
Going back to Bodiax too. Go ahead, Bubbles.
I was gonna say we talked about how we're like if they're able to run the ball, it's gonna tire out our defense and our defensive line. I don't know if you guys realize this, but this week we have a huge opportunity to bring back an All-Pro from the IR. He's been he practiced a little bit today. Robert Quinn. If that man is healthy and on the field, I don't know how you stop that defensive line because you got to go up against All-Pro Hassan Reddick, former All-Pro Robert Quinn, All-Pro Brandon Graham, and then you have inside guys like Linval Joseph, Ndamukong Suh, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis. How do you stop that defensive line, especially now that we're bringing in another player that was injured? So now that it's going to be even more of a rotation, and the best, like the people who are tired, they get a chance to come out of this game, and we're not losing that much of talent off of the field. That's insane. That's something that gives me hope that we are a full-on Super Bowl contender. Is the fact that we have 4 defensive ends that could come in. We have 4 defensive linemen that could come in. They're always going to be fresh. They're not going to be tired this game. And especially in front of that Philly home crowd, I don't know how it's going to be a tough matchup, but I think Daniel Jones is going to struggle in Philadelphia. It's a different atmosphere than Minnesota was. I could tell you that.
I see a strip sack coming from Hassan Reddick, dude. I'm calling it right now.
Ethan, who's the guy that the Giants drafted last year? He's an All-Pro, I think, tackle now, right?
Evan Neal.
Who?
Evan Neal.
Yeah. Because 2 or 3 years ago, when Daniel Jones was first coming into the league, their line sucked. They had Nate Soldier, who took a big decline, but now their line's like all right. Like they built around him, and then drafting that guy, he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a right tackle, right? So that's where Reddick's going to be coming off of. I want your guys' take on this though, because now with knowing our cap space and a big free agent that we might be losing, Miles Sanders. I love Philly. Just bring me back. That's what he said. So, do we bring him back in your guys' opinions, or
They cannot afford him.
And
There's no way after the year he's had. There's no way they could afford him. They're either
It
gonna
also
have
depends
to.
on what he asks.
That's what I was just
That's
going to
true,
say.
but
It
I don't
depends what
think
he's asking for.
I don't think it's gonna be cheap, and we're up there with cap space.
I don't
already.
think it's going to be cheap either, but I think it'll probably be around like the 16 mil a year.
That's too much for a running back in Philly, to be honest with you.
I
Yeah,
think
I-
it is
They're gonna
too.
need a cheap young guy.
No, I'm saying I think that's what he's going to ask for. I think that's way too much.
But if he really wants to stay in Philly that bad,
He might take a cut.
yeah, maybe like a
Yeah,
1-2 year deal. I could see happening is the 1 or 2 year deal, but at the same time, like I said, he's not performing for just Philly in these last couple of games. He's performing for all 32 teams. In the beginning of the season, what happened was one of his coaches came up to him. I think it was the running back coach, and was like, "Hey, Miles, listen, we know you're on a contract year this year. You're not just – I know you love Philly, but you're not just performing for Philly. There's 31 other teams out there that are looking at you and knowing that there's value to you if you have this big season and healthy season." Because they told him coming into the season – how they want to actually go and see if he's worth it. Nobody expected Miles to go and break 1,000. They didn't expect that. They thought, all right, he's going to come in, get 600 or 600 to 800 yards, and we can get him on a little like $6 to $8 million deal. But then he had this big season, and he just stepped his game up, which he in all means he deserves that money, and. I like Miles Sanders a lot. I know Ethan does with him being a Penn State student and Miles graduating and playing for the Nittany Lions. I wish Miles can come back, but at the same time, like any running back can come into Philly and do what he's doing. Like I'm not going to go and bash him. It's hard to hit 1,000 yards in the NFL, but a lot of running backs can actually play in Philly system. It's designed as a running team, but I guess we'll see. Time will tell where Miles stands with Philly,
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles' running back position is honestly one of the easiest skilled positions to play in the NFL. Because, like, I mean, Miles Sanders, he gets what, maybe like 12, 13 carries a game.
Yeah.
And he's